Well, good morning, everyone. Thomas Montgomery. We get together most weekday mornings at 8 o'clock Central to talk about strategies, tips, techniques, share success stories. As a 501c3 nonprofit, we've received a grant to improve financial literacy and increase access to capital to create more small businesses. With that, we work with a distribution team composed of state directors. We'll have a state director for each state here soon, and then resellers. There's no cost to be a state director nor a reseller, and it's real simple to become a reseller if you want to become one on 509pacific.org. But for those of you that are with us already, I've been asked by a couple of you to put together an income spreadsheet. So what we have here is just a simple Excel spreadsheet. And what we can do is we can alter these variables to calculate what we believe your predicted monthly income will be. Now, since the resellers and state directors make the same income, the state director just makes an override. This one calculator actually will work for either role. So we'll be able to go through and edit these things and see what income it predicts to generate. We're going to look at it from the upfront income and then the back end. So what does upfront income mean in our model? As described here, upfront income is what's paid to the reseller and state director upfront. So we know that participants have no money out of pocket, as stated here. So what will happen is the reseller will get the client under contract. They'll submit the contract in through the portal. If you don't have a portal, let us know. We'll get it for you. And so then once you have a client to submit, and then we'll get financing set up for the client. Client will receive financing. Client will pay the reseller. And the state director gets a matching override. So most common, that is $5,000 upfront to the reseller and $5,000 upfront to the state director. So that's the upfront income that we'll kind of play around with and do some what if scenarios. And then secondly, the back end income. So the back end income is what we call the performance fee or success fee. Clients, again, don't pay this up front, but they pay it after they receive each tranche, each round of capital. Any questions on the difference of these two before we start to illustrate the calculator? You can type your questions, comments, concerns into the Q&A, the chat box. Does that make sense to everyone? Okay, great. So we also want to make sure that we understand our focus is in helping people, helping clients, helping grant participants. So just to clarify the highlights to them, first of all, we don't ask participants to pay anything up front, nothing out of pocket. Again, they sign the contract with the reseller uploads it, we get financing offers, and client accepts the financing offers and pays from that. Secondly, in the end, the shelf corporations were actually giving away, but if you understand, they'll have no upfront out-of-pocket cost. We'll get financing. They'll pay you, the reseller, for it, and then the grant reimburses them after they've gone through funding. So in the end, the clients have no cost for the shelf corporation, so long as they participate. We do guarantee for each client a minimum of 100,000. There's no maximum. So some people say, oh, it's up to 100,000. No, that's not what we do. That's not what we say. That's not what the contract reads. Per the grant requirements, we have to guarantee the participants a minimum of 100,000. So when they're coming into it, they need to plan on accepting at least 100,000. That's how the grant is written. But again, there's no maximum. Now, don't confuse this statement. There are different types of funding that have different requirements, but for our program overall, folks can use the funding for whatever they want. But don't confuse that with that every lender will fund anything. That's not true. We'll find out how the client wants to spend the money, so we're getting the money from the right sources. And before we get into that calculator, one last highlight. It's really important to understand there's 3 different economic benefits that each client receives. So first, number one, obviously they're coming to borrow money. They want debt, right? They want money to start or grow a business, and they're going to use the Shelf Corp for that. So that's number one, loan or financing. And of course, people will ask, does that need to be paid back? Well, of course, right? It's loan, it's financing. The second is that we liquidate the AR, because remember, we're giving them $100,000 of AR as part of the Shelf Corp, so they have collateral, but then we can help them liquidate that and turn that into cash. So that's the second economic benefit. Some people say, oh, is this the same? No, it's two different things. And then the third worth understanding is when we transfer these Shelf Corps, they're set up to be a management consulting firm. That's the industry code. They're set up and ready to start making money. Now, they can decide if they want to operate it or not. But it's like if you went and bought, let's say there was a donut shop in your town for sale, and you went and bought that donut shop. So they've already got it all set up to make donuts and sell donuts. It's kind of like this. When they get a Shelf Corp, it's actually ready to start making money. They can start selling donuts right away, in the analogy. Any questions on the highlights? Otherwise, we'll get to the meat of the matter, which is using the income projections. Okay, I think we're good there. Mac, just type your question in. Any questions, just type it into the Q&A. All right, so we have three primary assumptions that we can change, which is going to determine what our projected monthly income is. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at this just as a reseller. State directors are managing a team of resellers. And again, we're not MLM, we're not network marketing. You don't have to pay to be a reseller, you have to pay to be a state director. But let's just start looking at this in scenario one. Let me go ahead and type that so we don't get confused. So we're going to do scenario one, reseller projections. So this is what we're talking about now. We're not talking about state director yet. So if we're looking at reseller projections, we only have one here. So we got to type in one. So by typing one in here, did that change our income? So in other words, let's take Jeff. Jeff's on our trainings most mornings. So Jeff is signed up to be a reseller. This is how much Jeff expects to make this month. Isn't that fucking great, right? Jeff is looking at making $0 this month because we don't have any volume, right? So it's not a gift program. It's not a welfare program. We're going to need to have some volume. We need to help people. That's what entrepreneurs do, right? We solve other people's problems. And the bigger the problem we solve, the more money we make. In our model, we're solving a big ass problem and we're making some crazy money. But if you don't help anyone, this is your income projection. And I have several of you on the Zoom this morning. This is the trend you're on right now. So we can go ahead and set up a plan. I'm going to make $0 this month, but that's not very attractive, is it? So instead, we need to generate volume. Let's say that we're just going to get one client this month, which is horrible, but let's just start with that. Okay, got one client this month. Well, that changed our income. So now we know we're going to make our $5,000 up front, but we know that client's going to also have a capital raise. We don't know how much, but let's just put in 100,000, which is the minimum. So we hit enter there. So if I'm, that doesn't look quite right, does it? My formula is off. Let's fix that formula. For my Excel gurus here. There we go. So now the formula is correct. So if you come aboard and you're a reseller, so this is scenario one, just yourself, you just enroll one client. That's it. And the client just does the minimum capital raise. What are you expected to make this month? 10,000. So, I mean, that's better than a stick in the eye, but that's not really measurable. And our goal is it's not to have resellers that do one deal a month. We call them dabblers. Dabblers are the death of us because dabblers will usually suck up a lot of time and energy, and they don't get active enough. Think about if you were a teacher. I used to be a public school teacher. So as a public school teacher, as a full-time teacher, so I taught every day. So when you do something all the time, you tend to become proficient. But those substitute teachers that would just come in once in a while, they usually weren't very proficient in the rules and the processes. They were really just glorified babysitters in many cases. So could you do this? Absolutely, because there are no production requirements. No one's going to get mad at you or tell you you're doing something wrong or take your money away if you're a dabbler. But this is not what we're here to do. Our average reseller does a deal a day, a deal a day. So that would mean taking weekends off. So now we're doing 20 deals a month. We're going to change that. Wow. So if you can just be average, I'm not asking you to be exceptional like France or like Joe or like Corinthian. You don't have to be a superstar. But if you were to just be the average, who can tell me what your projected monthly income would be? If you can type that into the Q&A. Who can tell me what your projected monthly income would be if you were average? Can anyone type that into the Q&A to see if you're tracking with me? David, do you mind typing that in? Or Doug, LJ? Looking for confirmation. It's like the school teacher asking the students, can anyone tell me what the answer is? Mac, you're wrong. So no offense, Mac, it's me. Michael got it right. So if you make 100,000 up front and you make 100,000 in the back end and you add those together, it's all in bold and underlined. Do we see? Okay. Now there's a difference in timing. Up front is up front. That's not a misled statement. Back end is earned over time as the client has tranches of capital. For those of you that took accounting in college or graduate school, you know that there's two types of accounting methodologies, cash accounting and accrual accounting. Most larger, more sophisticated businesses use accrual accounting, and that's what we're using here. So it's not funny numbers, it just simply means we're capturing the value of the client over time. That doesn't mean that we get all of it up front. So up front, we get part of it. The rest we get later. Now, what happens if you're like Joseph? Joseph Tufo is one of our top producers. So he doesn't like small deals. He likes clients that are going after bigger deals. So let's say that you're Joseph or someone that's going after clients that want a larger amount of capital. So now we're raising 100,000 or 1 million, sorry, 1 million of capital. Why is that? Math isn't right, is it? So if we have one client and we're making 5% of that. I'm sorry, because there it is. There we go. It was correct. Yeah. So let's say that you're like Joseph. So it's just him running solo. He brings in one client, but his clients want a larger capital raise. Then what does he expect to make off of one client? So obviously, the clients that want more funding is going to generate more back end. It's just kind of obvious. Now, Joseph is not a dabbler, though. Joseph is on track to be average. So let's say that he pulls out 20 in April. I don't know if he will or not. It's only April 4th. But let's just hope that he can be average in his production, but with larger capital raises. I mean, look at that. Who can tell me now? Mac, what would Joseph expect to make this month in April if he is working by himself, he does a deal a day, and he's doing large capital raises? Mac, can you tell me, can anyone type into the Q&A what the projected income is for Joseph for the month of April? Can anyone type it, please? If you can't type it, I have to keep going back through it because it means I've not done a good job teaching. Is anyone able? There we go. Well, Tasha almost got it. Michael B got it. Okay. So, but let's be conservative. We don't need to be outlandish and say, oh, you're going to win the lottery. Let's just assume, because sometimes you don't know what clients are going to go after or what they'll qualify for. So let's just assume that our clients will be average. Now, let's go ahead and pivot over to, well, before I do that, any questions on scenario one? Okay, it's pretty straightforward. So now let's go to scenario 2. And so scenario 2 is going to be state director, capital X on state director projections. So now we're not doing this one anymore. So let's cross through it. Where's my, we'll just get rid of it. There we go. Okay, so now we're on scenario 2. So now we are, who are we? We're going to be Leonidas, who's on. So Leonidas says, hey, I'm a leader. I want to run as an organization. I don't want to have to do all the work. So now what changes? Let's go back and reset everything. Okay, so now let's say Leonidas becomes a state director. This is how much he's projected to make right now, because there's no resellers working for him. There's no volume. So that's not real good. So what do we need to do different? Well, if he's a state director, he's developing, managing, and supporting resellers. That's the role of the state director. And again, this model, just so you know, the three of us that founded the nonprofit, we all came from the SBA, and the SBA has local distribution offices called SBDCs. So we all work for the SBDCs. This is their model in essence. Of course, they don't pay out like this, but they have state directors and then they have consultants. Here we have state directors and then resellers. All right, so the key is going to be, if you're a state director, we need resellers and then we need them to produce, because this will happen automatically. So let's say that in April you decided to become a state director, which doesn't cost anything. And let's say that you work real hard and you get 10 resellers, because they don't have to pay anything, right? There's no cost to them. All right, so you went out and you added 10 resellers and you're the state director. That's great, isn't it? What's your expected income now? You've got 10 resellers that are doing nothing. How much do you expect to make? Nikki, thank you for joining the call. Nikki, can you tell me how much you're expected to make if you're a state director and you have 10 resellers that do nothing? Can anyone tell me how much you expect to make? Zero, because it's not a welfare program. We have to go out and build financial literacy, educate people about what it takes to have a fundable business, and explain to them how the Fundable Shelf Corp can accomplish it. So what we're going to need to do is, regardless of the number of resellers, we need volume. Now, let's say in April, these people are going to come out to a slow start, and you heard all I said about dabblers, but let's just assume each of them just do one deal in their first month. That'd be horrible, and they'd probably quit if they only did one, but let's just go with that. So now, if you're the state director and you have 10 resellers, each only doing one deal a month, what is your projected income? Who can tell me what your projected income is? So you didn't go out and develop any clients of your own, but you're building a team. And again, I realize this is not for everyone. So I'm not here trying to persuade you to buy something or spend money. I'm just saying, if you're interested in the leadership role, I think if you see how the economics work, it'll be very motivating. Because what we do not want are 10 resellers only doing one deal a month. Quite frankly, if I were you as a state director and you had 10 people only doing a deal a month, first I'd ask them why, and then I would either help them or I'd fire them, because they're dabblers. Dabblers will eat up your time. So let's instead say that we get 10 resellers that are average. What's average? A deal a day. Nothing remarkable. It's a side gig for them. But now let's look at this final scenario. All right, so we got 10 resellers. They're each average, and you're helping them, you're motivating them, you're encouraging them, right? Because that's the role of a leader. That's what a leader does. And these clients, they're just average. They're not exceptional. They're not like Joseph's clients that are doing $1 million capital raise. They're just doing the minimum. I don't know about you, but I cannot think of another business opportunity. I hate to call it that, but a business opportunity whereby you can literally make 7 figures a month without spending any money. You don't have to buy anything. This is not MLMs, not network marketing, certainly not a Ponzi scheme because there's no money. But if you're a leader, we need you because we need state directors in each state who can help manage and supervise the resellers. We don't have enough time. And if you can manage to get 10 resellers who are average with clients that are just doing the minimum capital raise, my God, look at that. How and I'm going to ask this, and I know I shouldn't. How many of you make $2 million a month right now? Is there anyone, you don't have to type no, but just be honest. Type yes if you currently expect to make $2 million at what you're doing, not with us, just whatever else you're doing. Does anyone expect to even make $1 million this month reasonably, legally? So, I mean, it's crazy income potential, but you can play with this and let's say, oh, well, I don't think I could get 10, maybe I could get 4. Okay. And I don't know that they would be average in their first month. I think maybe they could do a deal a week, 4. Okay. So what is your projected income then as a state director? I mean, it's crazy good. It's crazy good, but it's not bullshit. It's not made up. You can either just be a reseller, help people, and earn a great income, or if you want to be more in a leadership position, you can manage a team. So, who has questions, comments, concerns about our income spreadsheet? You can type it into the Q&A. But our goal today is just simply to help you better understand through a visual representation. This is a real deal. It's legal, it's ethical. Doesn't cost anything to be a reseller or a state director, but it's an incredible income opportunity while you're helping others. Anyone have any questions, comments, concerns? So again, if you're not a reseller, get the capital lock off. I don't like that. If you are not a reseller, but you want to become one, you can go to 509pacific.org, and right on the website, there is a place to submit. We call resellers and grant coordinators the same thing, by the way. Okay, Todd's asking about the money. So let's go ahead and describe. So on the back end, 5% is paid to the reseller, 5% paid to state director, and of course the client is paying the 10%. So it's not funny money, right? So that we charge the client 10% of their capital raise. Half of it goes to the reseller, half of it goes to the state director. So there's that. David's asking, where is the reseller comp plan and calculator? Well, we just went through that, right? We literally went through that in scenario 1. So to look at it as an individual reseller, what do you need to do? Move that number to 1, and then everything applies, because the comp plan is the same, David, for resellers and state directors. State directors are just getting an override. So if you wanted to see how much you would expect to make as a reseller, we put 1 in here. And again, the goal is to be average. And so the average reseller should make $200,000 a month. Rod asked, can you be a reseller without being a client? Absolutely. Yeah, there's never been, to my best of my knowledge, there's never been a requirement that you have to be a client to be a reseller. So that's never been a requirement. You just simply go to 509pacific.org, and there's a spot there. It's called grant coordinator, but grant coordinator and reseller means the same. And so it's super simple. It's free. You'll just submit a form on the submission. Mac asked about timing, and that's a good point. So, of course, upfront is upfront based upon the client getting funded and accepting the funds to pay for the shelf court. The back end is off of each tranche. So the first tranche is within the first week of the client coming aboard. Then we need a week to get the shelf court transferred to them, and then we can start pursuing additional tranches. But the first tranche should be within the first 7 to 10 days. Last question before we break. So David asked, can you be the state director and the reseller and make all 10%? And the technical answer is yes. Yeah. So if you want to be a state director and you're also the reseller, then you would make both of those. So the income calculator wouldn't reflect that, but the answer is yes. All right. Well, if you need anything, let us know. All of our contact information is on our website, 509pacific.org. We'll see you back Monday morning. Hopefully, this helped educate, clarify, help you visualize the income potential. I mean, ultimately, the goal is to go help people, but you deserve to be compensated for your skills, your time, and your effort. And this model is extraordinary if you understand it. Thanks, everyone. See you Monday. Bye-bye.